Again, playing that Buzzwole Lycanroc. It's a deck that we talked about all weekend, and there's not really much else we could say about that deck. It's just consistently good. It's so strong and just hits for a lot of damage.
Yeah, Isaiah, the third seed coming into the top 8 with 2 regional championships and another finalist performance on top of that this year alone. I mean, that's just a dominant season, no matter how you write that up. And of course, he's been doing this all with Buzzwole.
Yeah.
He's been playing Buzzwole for 9 months, by the way.
Wow.
Or I'm sorry, 8 months. But still, 8 months. That's incredible.
That's insane. And that's even before cards like Beast Ring and this Sledgehammer Buzzwole came around, really just showing how of a mainstay these cards have been in the format.
Indeed. Now, I do want to also talk about Jackson Ford here, who is no slouch himself. Jackson, of course, very well known in the community. He is from Canada, and he came in as the 4th seed, so right behind Isaiah here.
Yeah, just playing that perfect seeding to meet your friend in the finals. 2018 Vancouver Regional Champion, 2018 Portland Regional Champion, 2018 Top 4 at Dallas Regionals, and 2017 Top 16 at this very tournament last year. I'm actually interested to know if he actually lost to Isaiah in Dallas, because top 4 Isaiah got finalists. I don't know.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
It could very well have been 50% chance of that. But so they're both 2-time regional champions this season.
Yeah, just showing how consistent they've been. That's probably the key word to describe a lot of these players we see in the finals is consistency, consistency, consistency. They're able to put up those big numbers every single time they even sleeve up their deck.
All right, let's take a look at the prizes for both of these players, as both players have now finished setting up and are set to begin Game 1.
All right, we see a Max Elixir and a Fighting in the prizes, but nothing really too important. The Super Rod is in the very top corner, though. And meanwhile, a
Ultra Balls.
Beast Ring, couple Ultra Balls, like you said, and a Max Elixir as well. I think probably the biggest card we might see make an impact is that Super Rod in Isaiah's prizes.
Sure, especially if he doesn't find it early on, or when he needs it. Now, the game is about to begin, as I believe Jackson Ford is kicking things off here. Plays a Brooklet Hill.
Yeah.
Remember, they played the exact same list, so playing your Brooklet Hill just means you never have to see it again whenever you Cynthia.
Yeah, no Field Blowers here. Brooklet Hill, just probably one of the best cards that makes this Buzzwole deck so scary. Being able to search for that Diancie Prism Star, just a free 20 damage whenever you want, getting the Rockruffs on the bench early so you can use Lycanroc and its Bloodthirsty Eyes, and then just even getting more attackers, all for just saying, yeah, I'll use it for this turn.
Speaking of Lycanroc, right away, Brooklet Hill finds a Rockruff, attaches an energy onto this Rockruff, and plays an N. So both of these players will be drawing a brand new hand of 6 cards apiece. But you definitely want to see a couple of Rockruffs in play. At the bare minimum, one, obviously, but you want to see a couple of Rockruffs in play for each player early on, as they want to be able to threaten these Lycanrocs that are just so good at getting the big, dangerous Rogue GX attack when you need it most.
Yeah, so we've seen this Buzzwole deck kind of take shape since Igor Costa winning Madison Regionals a few months ago. And it's started this trend of just the heavy Sledgehammer Buzzwole, kind of lowering the count of everything else in the deck. I think it started out with 1-1 Lycanroc, 1-1 Octillery, all that stuff. And then as tournaments keep progressing on, they really just change a few cards here and there. We see like maybe Regirock get dropped from the list in favor of some other cards. And it seems like they settled on a 2-2 Lycanroc and a 1-1 Octillery here, really showing the power they believe Lycanroc has.
And speaking of 1-1 Octillery, we do see Jackson find one of his 2 Ultra Balls, and that Ultra Ball does find a Remoraid here, the lone Remoraid for Jackson, as of course you want to get your Octillery in play as soon as possible. Make sure you can take advantage of Abyssal Hand from as early on as possible, of course, until your opponent's ends become potentially devastating if you don't have Octillery in play.
Yeah.
Now, it's on Isaiah. Isaiah's first turn of the game. What can he do to match the kind of setup that Jackson seems to be getting here?
Yeah, so first thing he does right away is use that Brooklet Hill. Even if you're not playing a deck that plays water or fighting Pokemon, it is always important to first search your deck, make sure what you have in there. That way you can make the most optimal plays later on in the game.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, the very first turn of the game is going to be one of those turns where you try to get as much information as possible, hope most of it sticks, and operate with the options that you have available to you throughout the remainder of the game.
So we actually see the Beast Energy in Isaiah's hand, just one of the most powerful cards coming out of the latest expansion, adding 30 damage and any color to an Ultra Beast. And with a Guzma, he brings up Remoraid.
The biggest Guzma of Isaiah's
International
season,
Championship, yeah.
Isaiah's season, as that Guzma will be able to knock out the Remoraid because of Buzzwole's Beast Energy attached to it, 60 damage onto that Remoraid. And of course, that means First Blood goes to Isaiah, as he only has 5 prizes remaining to Jackson 6.
Yeah, so he did have the option there of trying to Guzma the Rockruff with the energy. If this was a matchup, let's say, against a Zoroark Lycanroc deck, I think you 100% go for the Rockruff because they play double colorless. They're able to get an easy Claw Slash up and deal 130 with like either strong energy and stuff like that.
Sure.
But knowing your opponent has to hit a couple Max Elixirs or like hit a Max Elixir and a Float Stone to even try to threaten a Claw Slash, and Dangerous Rogue not even coming close to being a knockout right now, it's pretty safe to go for that Remoraid.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, the fact that Remoraid is just the long-term game plan that Jackson has going for him just makes you feel really good about your early game of your Isaiah, and it makes you feel like your early game aggression can really, really punish Jackson if the top of his deck is not helpful. As now Jackson is forced into the back foot, he's forced to try to come up with an answer to Isaiah's very, very powerful turn 1.
Yeah, and it's all based on the power of Brooklet Hill, too. He did not have that Buzzwole in his hand or a way to get it. So being able to just Brooklet Hill for it, all right, Beast Energy, Guzma, take a knockout, seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, of course, no way Jackson could have known that, but still, that is the power of Brooklet Hill and how important it is for both of these decks.
All right, we do see a Float Stone. I believe this is Isaiah's hand that we just looked at.
Right.
Yep. Brooklet Hill here.
Isaiah playing Brooklet Hill, or using Brooklet Hill anyway.
Now he's eyeing down a Remoraid of his own. He does have the Octillery in hand, and Octillery is one of those cards where you only play a 1/1 line of it, but it's probably one of the most important cards in your deck. Just because you're such a fast and aggressive deck, taking these prizes essentially every turn, that when your opponent starts to end you down to 3 cards, 2 cards, 1 cards, having that Octillery essentially just seals the game for you.
Sure, it makes sure that you just have as much resiliency as possible to these late game shenanigans that your opponent can pull off through. And now we're going to see a Sledgehammer for 80 damage because of Diancie. And that's 80 damage onto a Buzzwole, which hasn't even been able to do anything.
Yeah, the Sledgehammer Buzzwole really kind of innocuous when it first came out.
Sure.
All right, 1 for 30. Yeah.
We've seen that
All right.
before.
Yeah, we've seen it before. Like, oh, he can do 120 if you have 4 prizes? All right, I might play like one of these guys. But no, with all this damage modifiers that is in this fighting archetype, Beast Energy, Strong Energy, Diancie, Prism Star, Choice Band, the damage adds up, and it really turns into mostly just 2-hitting anything.
Now, Jeremy, in your experience, is this a grindier matchup, or is this a matchup full of well, I was going to say sledgehammers, but I meant haymakers.
So it's really going to center all on Bloodthirsty Eyes, who can get a good Dangerous Rogue for value. You want a big value Dangerous Rogue to take a big GX knockout, or even just set up your ways where that we saw the Guzma take out the Remoraid. A good thing is Bloodthirsty Eyes take out a Octillery later on in the game. But it's really going to come down to the management of the GX Pokemon and the prizes taken. The best thing for this Buzzwole deck is to get 2 turns of Beast Rings. You optimize your energy placements and damage output to the max, and being able to just sledgehammer, yeah, it'll hit for 120. I'll knock out anything. And to do that, you really just attack with these non-basic or non-GX, non-EX attackers for the beginning part of the game.
So you try to avoid playing these GX Pokemon, which unfortunately both of these players already have in play, right?
Yeah, it's a little better for Isaiah because his two aggressors are just regular basic Pokemon. And meanwhile, Jackson starting that Buzzwole GX and no energy on it, it's pretty big liability right now.
All right, well, while we've been talking, look at Isaiah's setup. He's got that Floatstone on the active Buzzwole, and he has Octillery in play. Of course, another Sledgehammer just means way more damage than Buzzwole can really hope to sustain for too much longer, as now that Buzzwole is basically a single strike away from getting knocked out.
Yeah, and the important part is it's a single Jet Punch away from getting knocked out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Jackson, forced to just pass the turn, has absolutely nothing going for him off of that Cynthia. And now it's on Isaiah to really take advantage of this situation, as Isaiah can, I mean, he's been in the driver's seat since the beginning of the game, since the very first turn of the game. And now he's really able to solidify that advantage, put Jackson in a position that may be too difficult to come back from.
Yeah, he could be looking for that Tapu Lele GX maybe, but opts for that Buzzwole. Getting a Guzma here, or even just a Lycanroc GX for a Bloodthirsty Eyes, would really put him at a big advantage, being able to Jet Punch, deal more damage to another Pokemon while just taking a free knockout on the benched Buzzwole if it happens.
And keep in mind, if you knock out this Buzzwole in the active spot, you're going to go down to 3 prizes. That's a big deal in this particular game.
Yeah, you just completely skip over the 120 damage from Sledgehammer, and that's what you need to force your opponent to do.
Exactly. So this is going to be huge for Isaiah. It really does seem like, of course, sometimes there's nothing you can do when your hand just does not cooperate, like it seems like is happening to Jackson. But it seems like all the doors are slowly closing in on Jackson, and he's going to have to find an answer really fast.
Yeah, fails this Max Elixir here, but still sitting pretty good here. It'll be interesting to see if he does have an energy to attach for the turn or not.
It will be indeed, as Isaiah keeps the momentum going, plays a Lycanroc, Bloodthirsty Eyes onto the Rockruff with the energy, the only energy in Jackson's
And he
field.
gets the strong energy off the Abyssal Hand from the Octillery. That will be enough to take a knockout on the Rockruff and the Buzzwole GX on the bench, putting him down to 2 prizes.
A huge turn for Isaiah, as he'll be able to take 3 prizes on this turn, thanks to the combination of Bloodthirsty Eyes, plus strong energy, and Buzzwole GX.
Man, amazing turn.
Forget about going to 3 prizes. How about 2? You just skip B-String altogether, man.
Yeah, I'm just going to completely shut off one of the best cards in your deck right now.
It is so rare to be able to just completely skip on B-String. It's what Buzzwole really depends on, and Isaiah's just masterfully put himself in a position where he can avoid that altogether.
Yeah, and he still has the Octillery, so N isn't even really an option for Jackson here. And with just 2 Sledgehammer Buzzwoles on the bench and a Diancie Prism Star, it's not looking good for Jackson game 1 here.
Remember, this is only game 1, and that does mean that Jackson can come back and win 2 games in a row if this game continues to go the way it's going for him. But, I mean, as we see here, all he has is a Guzma. Bring up your Octillery. Let's hope it stays in the active spot for a while. But no, instead we see a Guzma from Isaiah, and that's going to be enough for Jackson to scoop up his cards. Isaiah wins game 1 and is 1 game away from being the Senior Division North American International Champion.
It's hard to say if Jackson even really got an attack off that game.
I don't believe he did.
Yeah, things were just not
No,
looking
he definitely
good.
didn't.
Things were not looking good from the start. Just having so many energy problems and then just not even having a supporter to replenish his hand as the game went on. Meanwhile, Isaiah's sitting there like, yeah, I got this 3 prize turn with this pretty sweet Buzzwole GX card.
And remember, Isaiah won the round 9 matchup between the 2 players. So, I mean, of course, that doesn't matter anymore. And, you know, it's a clean slate in the finals. but it's got to be.
No, that matters. This is a grudge match for Jackson right here.
You've been there before,
he
haven't you?
can't be beat 2-0-1 to Isaiah in this tournament. The fact that they faced off 3 times, the maximum amount of times you can face off in a tournament like this,
Yes.
it's insane.
I mean, I know I've been there before. I know you've been there before. When you have these little grudge matches with your friends, and obviously this is the dream, right? Being able to have, showcase this grudge match on the biggest stage on Championship Sunday. But still, you want to be able to have the bragging rights over your friend. You want to be able to say, okay, well, at least I beat you when it counted,
Yeah,
and that's exactly what can happen here. Jackson's still in it. He can win 2 games in a row to become the champion. And he's just going to have a little bit more help from his deck than he had that last game.
Yeah, well, the one thing that he does have going for him is he is playing a pretty broken deck in Buzzwole Lycanroc. It's just could come out of the gates and essentially out of nowhere with Beast Ring turns. So we'll have to see how this match plays out.
Oh, man. All right. So Buzzwole Lycanroc has been a deck that I know, for example, Michael Pramel in the Masters Division just absolutely adores it. And I actually do too. I think that it's just one of those decks that just didn't get innovated enough coming into this tournament. We saw these different Zoroark builds just see that next level of innovation. But we saw the Buzzwole decks just kind of stay on an even keel. And, like, for example, no Field Blower editions, things like that, right? For at least the division that we've been keeping our eye on throughout the weekend. But in this particular senior division, I love how that was more than enough for to get the job done. How just the power of these Buzzwole decks is just, it's dominant when it does get to find an opening, and it seems like these players have been able to prove that time and time again throughout the weekend. Now it is Jackson's first turn of the game, and we see a Beast Energy / pass from Jackson.
Wow. Well, Beast Energy looking a little reminiscent of the early turn 1 from Isaiah last game, but there we see Strong Energy and a Cynthia as well. And like you were saying, they didn't, this deck in general, it's kind of already gone to where it can go.
Exactly.
There's not really much innovation left. But that's where you see these 1 or 2 card changes that really put in the effort that you needed to. I think the biggest thing they're playing, they actually cut the 9th Fighting Energy for a 2nd Super Rod.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they really did.
It's really kind of conceding to the fact that, well, yeah, Octillery is very important. I'm only going to play a 1-1. I don't want a 2-1. But I am going to have to play this Super Rod.
Okay, well, Sledgehammer, 50 damage from Isaiah. Jackson, does he not have anything going for him in his hand? We haven't really had a good chance to look at it, but we saw that he just played Beast Energy and passed last turn. Did not get bailed out by Isaiah, as Isaiah did not play an N. And now we just see a Guzma as the supporter. However, it is pretty strong, as Beast Energy combined with Diancie will mean the Rockruff will be knocked out.
Yeah, it looks like his hand was actually just a bunch of Guzmas, Buzzwole GX or a Lycanroc, I believe, and then the Diancie, and then a couple Energy. So
Sledgehammer's already issuing a knockout. Does he want to commit a Strong Energy to the active Buzzwole? He says no, as he just actually benches a Buzzwole GX, attaches the Strong Energy to the Buzzwole GX, and knocks out the Rockruff with a Sledgehammer, dealing more than enough damage to knock it out. Now, the very first prize of this game goes to Jackson, as he's now knocking out a Rockruff. Will that be enough? Now, a Max Elixir, by the way, from Isaiah could threaten to knock out this active Buzzwole from Jackson.
yeah, and I actually like Jackson's choice of attaching the Strong Energy to the Buzzwole GX on the bench. He still has in the back of his mind, like, yeah, I had that Buzzwole GX. He knocked it out pretty quickly, and I didn't even get a Beast Ring. Do I want to play this down? But when you have to commit just another energy and a Strong Energy at that to a Buzzwole that could just be knocked out this turn, which it looks like
Guzma.
Diancie is the weapon of choice he is going to try to knock out.
Okay,
one
swing
heads
around.
lead
A
here.
single heads is going to knock out the Diancie. First rules tails.
And it looks like off camera, it was the heads. Isaiah got the extra 20 damage he needed with swing around to take the knockout on Diancie Prism Star.
Diancie swung around to the point where it got sent into the law zone.
It swung around, fell off the swing, and it's gone forever.
Sent to the Law Zone. All right, now Buzzwole, the new active Pokemon here from Jackson. Only a Sledgehammer, a very quick Turnigan from Jackson. Has nothing going for him from the top of the deck yet.
Yeah, again, just using the Guzmas in his hand to just really try and slow Isaiah down. But we could see a pretty quick 2-0 here if...
See a Floatstone in Isaiah's hand, actually.
Yeah, but is there any supporter or way to actually get something going other than this Buzzwole on the bench?
Well, you're still going to be able to knock out the active Buzzwole, getting rid of the Beast Energy, which is going to leave your opponent with only a Buzzwole GX in play, but you're going to go down to 4 prizes, which means if your opponent's been sandbagging anything, if Jackson has anything going for him, then you could definitely just meet your maker there.
He has a little something going for him. At least 1 Beast Ring. It looks like 2 in his hand.
Brooklet Hill as well in his hand, by the way. Oh, man, he is... Unfortunately for Isaiah, he ran right into a Beast Ring here from Jackson.
Wow, what a turn of events. And this is what Buzzwole does. Just being able to just charge out of nowhere with 2 huge threats. Oh, it's a Choice Band, not another Beast Ring in his hand.
Okay, well, we do see a Choice Band and a Brooklet Hill, by the way. So now at this point, you can choose to use your Brooklet Hill, find a Remoraid, for example, because your opponent no longer has that pressure on you. So where you don't have the opportunity to do that, but instead he chooses not to play that Brooklet Hill because it can help Isaiah as well, and he feels like he's got the dominant board state. No reason to do so yet, and actually Isaiah is forced to extend the hand.
Wow.
Excellent play from Jackson, as he had a hand that just had no real options, but the few options he had available to him were used to the best of their potential, and Jackson is now evening things up at 1 game apiece.
Yeah, the players can only just laugh at how that game ended up. It's such a weird game for both of these decks, and the Buzzwole GX Beast Ring just pulling it out on top for Jackson there.
Unbelievable. I mean, we saw the internal dilemma between, for Isaiah there, as he was wondering whether he should knock out that Buzzwole or just kind of like not knock it out and extend the game a little bit. He knew that if his opponent has something like Beast Ring, then he was going to be in quite a bit of trouble. But he took the calculated risk there, and it did not pay off, as that gave Jackson exactly what he needed to knock out that only threatening Pokemon in that Buzzwole with 3 energy on it. And once that Pokemon was down, there was nothing left for Isaiah to do but extend the hand and shuffle up for game 3.
Yeah, and we actually just saw how 2 completely different games we can get based off the back of Brooklet Hill being in play or not.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's very true. We saw that Jackson kept holding on to that Brooklet Hill, even though obviously it looked like his hand was worse than Isaiah's for quite a few turns. And then that one play from Jackson, that single play from Jackson, put us in the position where we are now tied at 1 game apiece, with anything being able to happen in this following game.
Yeah, there is no advantage for one deck or the other. It is a 60-card mirror match, as we say. These players know the deck inside and out, and it's anyone's game, this game 3.
It really is, as both players have now cut each other's decks. We are now seeing them draw their opening hand of 7 cards, and this is the final game between the 2 players in the senior division before we crown one of them the North American International Champion.
Oh, we see a mulligan here from Jackson, being able to give Isaiah an extra card here. And looking from his hand, I believe I see the one of Beast Energy again.
That's in Isaiah's hand?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
All right, looking at the prizes, this looks like Isaiah's. There is a 1/1 Lycanroc, a Max Elixir, and a Strong Energy. Nothing too heartbreaking in there.
No, it's not too heartbreaking, but you definitely want to conserve your resources, especially with, obviously, the Strong Energy and whatnot.
Man, what a way. Game 3, after their 3rd match, trying to decide who can come out on top. So what happens if Jackson wins? Do they just meet up at Worlds and then that decides everything?
Oh, I think we see them again in a rematch of the World's Finals. It would only make sense, right?
It has to be.
That's the tiebreaker right there, the ultimate tiebreaker.
All right, here we go. He does find a basic Pokemon. Let's take a look at his prizes here.
All right, a strong energy with a fighting energy.
Two
Another
strong energies here.
Okay.
It could be pretty important, but it also could kind of give him a little bit of help, because if he starts taking these knockouts, he'll have a constant flow of strong energies for the game.
Advantage before the first turn of the game even begins goes to Isaiah based on prizes alone, as we see Isaiah start the game off with an Ultra Ball, discarding a Guzma and a fighting energy to find himself any Pokemon in his deck and put it in his hand.
Yeah, for those of you watching the broadcast throughout this whole weekend, usually you see Ultra Ball get you a Tapu Lele for a Bridget, but with Buzzwole, there is no Bridget inside. There is just pure aggression.
Aggression and consistency, that's correct. Now, you find something like a baby Buzzwole, a regular Buzzwole? Looks like
you
you
kind of
do.
have to, because this Buzzwole GX, it's definitely not your preferred starter here. We saw at game 1 where Isaiah actually took advantage of Jackson starting the Buzzwole, ended up getting that 3 prize turn again.
Max Elixir. That's the reason why you find that Buzzwole. You want to start powering it up.
One thing of note about
4 cards in, 5 cards in, 6 cards in, does not find an energy with that Max Elixir.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, one thing to note of their list, since they cut the 9th fighting, it does lessen the power of Max Elixirs as well, and that's why they really only play 3.
That does explain it. Now, we do see that Beast energy that you were talking about in Isaiah's hand, and he plays it before playing a Cynthia. So now a brand new hand of 6 cards here for Isaiah after expending all of these early game resources.
Yeah, having the Ultra Ball for a Sledgehammer Buzzwole is not what you're really looking for. That's really always your first Brooklet Hill target.
Sure.
But playing Brooklet Hill in this matchup when your opponent's going second really puts you at a disadvantage, because then they just get the perfect attacker for the situation that your turn 1 hand provided for them.
Yep, that's entirely correct. As now we see Isaiah draw his 6-card hand off of Cynthia, place a second Buzzwole. Still no basics that need to evolve, such as Rockruff or Remoraid, so he passes the turn. Now, what's Jackson going to do on his first turn of the game, the very first potential attacking turn of the game? You see an Ultra Ball out of Jackson.
He actually has his one of Beast Energy too. It's like these players are playing a full 4.
Right.
Just being able to draw into it, that turn 1, such a strong and powerful Prism card. Definitely paired with Diancie is, I think, just an insane 1-2 punch.
Ultra Ball discards a Lycanroc and a Fighting Energy.
We could see...
It wasn't Jackson that had a Lycanroc prize, was it? It was Isaiah?
Yeah, it was Isaiah.
Okay.
But remember, they play 2 Super Rod.
Right, that's
so
correct.
they can feel a little bit safer when they do this play, discarding the energy, discarding the Lycanrocs. He could be looking for that Remoraid, because I know he has that Octillery in hand. Or no, that was Isaiah who has Octillery in hand.
All right, so a Floatstone attached to the Remoraid, a Beast Energy attached to the active Sledgehammer Buzzwole, and now an N shuffles both players' hands back into their decks. 6-card brand new hand from each of these players, as the first turn of, well, as Jackson's first turn of the game has not concluded yet, but
yeah,
looking mighty strong.
It's looking like at least a Sledgehammer for 60 damage thanks to that Beast Energy. And having that on the Buzzwole GX is not where Isaiah wants to be right now.
At this point, Jackson's looking for Rockruffs. Jackson's looking for potentially Diancie. These are the Pokemon he's going to want to find out of this end.
Maybe a couple Max Elixirs as well. Rockruff is probably one of the biggest he wants to find. It looks like
Finds a
another
Buzzwole.
Buzzwole. He does have an Ultra Ball.
He has a Brooklet Hill, by the way. Has that decision to make again.
It'll be interesting to see if he decides to play the Brooklet to get it. He wants to save the Ultra Ball for the Octillery next turn, so I think it's worth it here. Rockruff is so important right now.
I think you can find the Diancie here because it puts you in a position where Choice Band will knock out the opposing
That is true.
Buzzwole
yeah.
GX.
And there we go, 80 damage from the Sledgehammer. Like I said, that 1-2 punch of those Prism cards. We don't see them much, like a lot of the Prism cards they've released, but the few that are good, they are very good.
Oh yeah, man. You can definitely understand why these cards are, simple one-ofs.
Right, Isaiah's turn now. He really needs to deal with this Buzzwole that's in the active spot.
with that Beast energy. Just so much damage out of this Ultra Beast. Brooklyn Hill first. Isaiah says thank you as he looks through his deck and finds likely a Rockruff, potentially a Remoraid. Goes for the Rockruff.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he actually does find a Floatstone this turn to start kind of giving back some of the pressure that's been put on him.
Strong energy attached onto the Rockruff. No hesitation there. As he plays a Sycamore, discarding about 5 additional cards to go with that Sycamore. That's a hefty cost you're paying, except for 2 of those cards were Brooklyn Hills at least.
Yeah, it looks like he discarded 2 Fighting Energy and a Super Rod and 2 Brooklet Hill. So half of it you never really want to discard. The other half you are super glad you discarded right now.
Okay, so now we're seeing...
Oh, was that just a pass? Did he not get
exactly.
the Floatstone?
We're seeing a pass out of Isaiah there. Jackson now on his turn. What options do you want to take? You want to go for... I mean, of course, if you can get a Guzma or a... Well, if you can get a Guzma right now, knocking out the Rockruff would be huge.
All right, there is the Ultra Ball eyeing down that Remoraid. Abyssal Hand, just such a great ability in this deck.
Brooklyn Hill finds a Rockruff.
All right, so I was a turn late.
Just a turn. Can we find that Guzma? That Guzma would just be so important here. It not only sets up Jackson to go down to 5 prizes, which means he'd be able to knock out the Buzzwole later. Guzma brings up the Rockruff.
All right, this is definitely something Jackson is looking to do, taking out the option of Bloodthirsty Eyes, of Dangerous Rogue GX.
And now here comes Buzzwole with that Beast energy on it. Rockruff will be knocked out here, but not before attaching a Fighting Energy onto his own Rockruff. Down goes Isaiah's Rockruff. 5 prizes remaining for Jackson. And now, of course, with only a Beast Energy on his bench, does Buzzwole, you have to believe that Isaiah's looking for a big-time, potentially Guzma of his own.
I now get why Rockruff looks so sad, because in this matchup, it never really gets to stick around.
Oh, of course not. If it does stick around, then it's just so difficult to deal with. And it's definitely going to be able to quench its bloodthirst.
We might see kind of a same play here from Isaiah if he chooses to
that,
Guzma.
Yeah, I expect to see a Guzma out of Isaiah knocking out. There it is. Jackson's Rockruff gets targeted by Guzma.
And man, both of these
anything
Buzzwoles,
you can do, I can do better.
Yeah, both of these Buzzwoles, Beast Energy and Diancie, just powering them up to just the upper limit. It is insane.
Okay, so now Jackson down to 5 prizes, Isaiah down to 5 prizes. No Rockruff in sight for either player, but Isaiah's Buzzwole is threatening to get a 3rd energy attached to it and start swinging around for 110 base damage, 130 once you consider the Diancie. So that's just enough to one-hit KO a non-GX Buzzwole without a single flip. What kind of an answer does Jackson have? I see a Choice Band in Jackson's hand.
Yeah, so Jackson is pretty set up well here. If you look at his board, it is all 1 prize Pokemon. So even if Isaiah does take a knockout next turn, he'll be down to 4 prizes. That means all the Beast Strings are live. Sledgehammer is now a powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jackson can just target down that Buzzwole GX. And then all of a sudden, Isaiah's like, okay, I'm down to 3. That's not what I wanted to happen this game.
It's so important for Jackson not to have a GX Pokemon in play right now. So crucial as you force Isaiah into the position where he powers up your own Sledgehammers.
All right, here is a Max Elixir from Jackson, but fails it.
Always unfortunate when you miss your Max Elixirs, as both of these players have missed.
It feels so bad.
Yeah, it really does. This is such a tense moment here in this game for both of these players. Neither player has really solidified a huge advantage yet. But you feel like either player is just one play away from, turning the tide solely in their favor.
All right, Max Elixir, this time, this one hits, essentially mirroring the board state for Jackson here. Except, you know, he's the one with Octillery in play this time rather than game one.
To see a fighting energy in his own hand, he is going to be able to knock out this Buzzwole GX with no flips.
Buzzwole GX, he could
I'm sorry,
even
not
target
GX,
down the
regular
regular Buzzwole.
I meant the regular Buzzwole in the active position. He's going to be able to knock out this regular Buzzwole in the active position with no flips, as 130 damage is dealt to this Buzzwole, and 2 energies go. Well, one goes into the discard pile, the other goes into the Lost Zone. Jackson down to 4 prizes, which is important, obviously, as Isaiah's Sledgehammers are going to be dealing 120 base damage, but Jackson took out all the energy on Isaiah's field.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see if Isaiah is able to draw into his B strings here. Sledgehammer, with just a regular fighting, will take the knockout on Jackson's active Buzzwole.
There's the B string right away. No suspense there. His first B string does attach 2 fighting energy onto the Buzzwole on the bench.
Yeah, there we go. And then
The problem is
energy
there's
to the active.
no GX Pokemon for him to target down, him being Isaiah. So he's going to be going down to 4 prizes at the end of his turn, and that's going to let Jackson kind of mirror Isaiah's play here.
Yeah, it's really going to give Jackson a good advantage, especially since this N isn't really doing much to him with Octillery in play.
Right.
And then for Jackson, his turn, he's just going to be like, I'm going to try to prioritize knocking out that Buzzwole GX on the bench, B-string all my guys, and I'm sitting pretty.
Sitting pretty indeed. Jackson Ford shuffling and drawing, as is Isaiah.
There is a Remoraid coming down on the bench. Little late, but still needed.
Yeah, that Remoraid obviously could get targeted down before it could ever become an Octillery, and then all of a sudden you start dealing with things like ends from your opponent from the following turn on. But still, you need to get it into play, and you need to kind of cross your fingers that your opponent feels like there's better targets in play than your lowly little Remoraid. And there honestly are.
All right, and there we finally see it. Sledgehammer, 140 damage, taking the knockout on Jackson's Buzzwole with 3 energy.
Down goes the Buzzwole, but down goes Isaiah to 4 prizes, just like Jackson. Now, does Jackson have the B string?
Yeah, so it'll be very crucial for him not to really play down a Buzzwole GX this turn. You might want to think, okay, I want a B string to it. And if you have to, then you kind of go for it. But you really want to attack with these Buzzwoles here.
Wow, okay, so now Jackson actually targeting down the Diancie with a Guzma.
I don't think Jackson drew a B string off this Octillery, but it is fine. He'll still have another turn to try and utilize them thanks to his perfect play here.
Exactly, he's just got the perfect board position right now, and targeting down the Diancie is going to make it much more difficult for Isaiah to get the high HP knockouts that he's going to need to get in future turns. But at the same time, he did have access to taking down a Buzzwole GX, and he could have brought himself down to 2 prizes, stopping Isaiah from being able to play any more B strings for the game.
Yeah, and my mistake, he actually had the B string in his hand, only chooses to get the 1, maybe just because he has the 1 left.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Maybe he's putting a lot of pressure on the super rods that he might not have available yet.
Yeah, I believe he already used 1 of them.
Not the most powerful B string ever, but it's still powerful.
I mean, anytime you just get any energy in play for free, that's always
yeah.
super powerful.
Down goes Diancie. Jackson down to 3 prizes as Isaiah promotes a Buzzwole once again. We've seen this story time and time again between these 2 players, as Buzzwole with 2 energies on it, thanks to the B string on the previous turn, is the Pokemon of choice here for Isaiah. Remoraid gets a Floatstone attached to it. Will it become an Octillery soon?
Is his hand just 2N, 2 Sycamore?
It could be. You have a much better look at that one than I do.
Yeah, so basically he has the option either or. N is good for disrupting his opponent, but again, that Octillery
If
there.
it's an Octillery, I think you probably go for the Sycamore here. if those are your two options.
Yeah, but you also have to run the risk of discarding a couple ends and a Sycamore as well.
Sure.
Isaiah opts for the safer play here, and he's really hoping to spike an Octillery off the top of this end.
You say safer play, but it's actually a really dangerous play if you think about it, because he's only got 4 cards, access to 4 cards here, and he doesn't have all the resources he needs for the long-term game yet. He still needs an Octillery, and he still needs to get aggression going past his 2 energy Buzzwole on the active spot.
Yeah, he still needs even just a strong energy to try to take a knockout. If he doesn't take a knockout this turn, that Buzzwole is going to run wild. Sledgehammer is going to deal just massive amounts of damage to anything he tries to put forth.
So this is a very dangerous play here by Isaiah. Will it pay off? Finds an Octillery right away.
And I also saw a B-string in his hand as well. I think you couldn't write it up better than this.
See a Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill is letting Isaiah look at how many resources he has left in his deck. We saw at least 1 fighting energy in the deck. I think a couple, yep. So that B-string will power up any Pokemon Isaiah wants to power up here. Likely going to be the Buzzwole GX he just benched.
So it'll be interesting to see, just because he does need a strong energy to even take a knockout with Swing Around with 2 heads. If he chooses to B-string to the bench Buzzwole, he'll need to draw into some other energy as well.
There's the answer that we've got to the question as he attaches a Float Zone to the active Buzzwole. He's going to want to get a knockout with the Buzzwole GX, I believe. Max Elixir here. This could be a very important Max Elixir. Does he find the fighting energy he needs? So far, so bad. There he finds it, though. On the 4th card, that fighting energy will come onto the Buzzwole GX, which means we can see 3 energy onto the Buzzwole GX without even having to attach one manually.
And wow, what a good turn for Isaiah here. But remember, he is still just taking a knockout on a single prize attacker, meaning if Jackson is able to find Super Rod, or if he just only got the 1 fighting because he only wanted 1 fighting, B-strings could come in and we could see another big Buzzwole GX from him as well.
Yeah, the return Buzzwole GX would just be potentially too much for Isaiah to overcome there, as having your Buzzwole GX knocked out from by a Buzzwole GX that has no damage on it is just devastating. 3 prizes apiece here for both players.
Oh, yeah, I actually think that fighting energy on the Buzzwole on the bench is his last fighting energy. There is 7 basic fighting in his discard.
7 basic fighting? I see at least 1 fighting in his deck.
Okay, well, there's 6. He has 1 left.
All right, there's that Beast energy. Or I'm sorry, B-string. Finds the final energy on and attaches it to Buzzwole.
But this means we're not really going to get a big Buzzwole GX here.
Yeah. We could see a Swing Around for 130 base damage.
One thing you could try to do is Lycanroc bring up that Buzzwole GX, or even just the Octillery, kind of shutting off some of Isaiah's play for a few turns.
But even then, how do you take your final prize?
I don't know. This Buzzwole with 3 basic fighting is a monster right now. I don't know how Jackson can actually deal with it.
We'll have to wait and see, as Jackson just running out of resources here. It seems because of all the energy in his discard pile, he's down to maybe potentially this last remaining attacker, unless he can find a Super Rod.
All right.
Abyssal Hand gonna need to
First card is the Super Rod here, and he has a strong energy and a B-string. He hasn't Brooklet Hill yet.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
He did?
I thought he did. He might not have.
Wow.
Okay.
Two huge draws from both players in back-to-back turns here.
Yeah, so there's that Buzzwole
Wow.
GX. Choice Band as well. Right away, plays B-string, double B-string onto the Buzzwole GX on the bench. He knew exactly what play he needed to make, and he makes it as fast as humanly possible.
If there was a more perfect 5 cards he could have had from that Abyssal Hand, I don't want you to tell me.
I don't know what they could be. Abyssal Hand just helps out so much, helps this deck out so much, and now Octillery, of course, going to be kind of floating away onto the bench, letting the Buzzwole jump in on the action and show Isaiah which Buzzwole is boss here.
Oh yeah, that wasn't even from the Octillery. That was from his supporter. He still got to Abyssal Hand.
Yeah, wow.
And just like that, you see the power, the raw power of B-String and Buzzwole here.
Just unbelievable damage here. Doesn't even have, neither of these players needs a Lycanroc in this matchup, apparently, as we just see more than enough damage here from Buzzwole GX.
Yeah, he's trying to count it out, make sure he does the math right so he can take the knockout with Absorption GX, because if he chose the Knuckle Impact, he wouldn't be able to attack next turn.
Yep, he dealt 190 damage with Absorption GX onto Buzzwole. Exactly enough to knock it out, and goes down to a single prize with an Octillery in play, which means an end from Isaiah is just mitigated because of that Octillery's Abyssal Hand.
And now I don't know how Isaiah deals with this Buzzwole. No access to B-String right now. And, oh man, that's...
Yeah, we're done with the B-String shenanigans from Isaiah.
He might need a Max Elixir and a Lycanroc GX to take a dangerous Rogue knockout.
Sure, I could definitely see that and force your opponent to have a Guzma.
And I think Jackson sees that play exactly, counting out what he has left in regards to that. 2 Super Rod in the discard, I believe 4 Energy and a couple Max Elixir.
There's the Lycanroc. Bloodthirsty Eyes, bring up the Diancie.
Yeah, so with that, he won't be able to Max Elixir to the Lycanroc since it is not a basic. So really just hoping, okay, please don't have a Guzma.
Oh, man.
We could be on the precipice of seeing Jackson Ford come back for revenge here, tying up the series and taking the series of their playing and taking the international championship title.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean there is. Now we play an end here from Isaiah. But remember, there's just so much damage coming out of this Buzzwole. He doesn't even need the Diancie. It's just a very, very powerful Buzzwole, Jeremy.
Yeah, and with that Octillery, this end to 1 won't really matter here, being able to just draw up until he has 5 cards.
But still, these are the only options Isaiah has available to him. It feels like we're just a turn away from seeing Jackson become our international champion. Does Jackson draw what he needs? He's going to have a lot of draws here for it.
Yeah, this deck known for really playing for Guzma. It's just a very fast-paced, aggressive deck.
Sledgehammer for 30. Do you find your Guzma?
Strong energy.
Brooklet Hill. See how many Guzmas I have left in the deck?
There's a couple. There's a Floatstone as well. Floatstone also takes the win.
Floatstone would take the win as well, so there's about 3 hits in the deck. Potentially more.
All right, it is
He's
all...
able to Abyssal Hand. He's choosing to attach an energy before doing that. So he's going to Abyssal Hand for 4. Does he find it? Finds double Brooklet, but he finds the Floatstone. Floatstone attached onto the Diancie. Now Buzzwole becomes the active Pokemon.